Thank you so much for this honor. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine my life would end up like this. Here I was, making sandwiches for a living, asking indie wrestler Tim Wirtz if he wanted mustard and mayo when he invited me to a pro wrestling school. Following him to that ring in the backyard of a trailer home in Zephyrhills, Florida, began the adventure of a lifetime. There have only been 2 people to have their head shaved bald at WrestleMania. One is the most influential person to ever enter a wrestling ring. The other was Vince McMahon. Well, first I want to thank my amazing parents, Rick and Bonnie, who taught me the importance of doing what is right instead of what is easy. I also learned the value of a good work ethic from them. In fact, just recently, my brother was going to re-roof his house, so he invited the family to come help with that. And my 70-year-old parents, for 10 hours, were right up there with us. My mom with a stack of shingles on each shoulder, picking them up, slamming them down, making it happen with hardly a water break. I aspire to be like them. Before I made it to the big time, I wrestled on the independent scene, performing at VFWs, high school gymnasiums, and occasional biker bars. The most influential person in my life during that season was Malaya Hosaka. She helped remove the scales of naivete from my teenage eyes and awakened me to a more mature grasp of how mentally tough you have to be to navigate this business. Thank you, Malaya. Next is Lanny Poffo. I could write an entire book about how this man has helped me. I'm sure you've heard stories about men wanting to, wink wink, mentor young women. But Lanny invested in me as if I was a Poffo family 3rd generation protege. He let me set up in his living room to practice my moves. We set up a crash pad on the floor, and next to that was a television and a VCR, and he would have me watch dozens of matches of Buddy Rogers versus Pat O'Connor. Then I would try to emulate their moves. I would arm drag the air hundreds of times, press pause on the VCR, study every angle, do it over and over and over. Lanny was patient, encouraging, and he told me how important it was to give the fans more than what they paid for, and that it was okay to stand true to my convictions. When it became obvious that I had plateaued with my living room training, Lanny told me that I really needed to train with Dean Malenko. It was actually Lanny who first called Dean and asked if I could train with him at his school. Dean told him no. However, a few months later, Dean saw me have a match at Universal Studios for WCW, and he invited me to come train at his school. He was going to teach me how not to wrestle like a girl. Well, I'm so proud to say that today, because of the skill level of women like Jazz, Victoria, Gail, Ivory, Jacqueline, Lita, Trish, and all of the amazing women in the WWE today, wrestling like a girl is actually a compliment. Throughout my career at WCW and WWE, Dean Malenko has been my mentor, advocate, and friend. Thank you, Dean. Thanks to all I learned from Lanny and Dean, I was invited to come work full-time on WCW as an Entourage member by one of the biggest stars in all of sports entertainment history, Macho Man Randy Savage. I will never forget my first limousine ride, with Macho Man on one side and on the other, Hulk Hogan. I felt like I was in a movie. Just 10 years prior, I was a 10-year-old kid in my parents' living room in Linwood Township, Minnesota, watching the Mega Powers collide. And now we are sharing a ride from the airport. It was so surreal. Because of Randy, I was catapulted into being in the main event with the biggest names on a weekly basis. I was living the dream. A year later, when the WWE hired me, I could not have been more excited. It was another dream come true. It wasn't long before the WWE told me they were going to be making an action figure in my likeness. I was so overwhelmed and happy. When it hit the shelves, I drove immediately to the Toys R Us in Roseville. I made a beeline for the action figure section, and when I got there were two boys, maybe like 8 or 9 years old, making their selection, and I spotted my figure. And so from behind them, I said, "Why don't you get the Molly Holly one?" And they said, "Nah, she sucks." Nothing like an 8-year-old to keep you humble. Well, you may have heard stories about unconventional methods to rise to the top, including bribing a referee to adjust his cadence to your advantage, which the greatest referee of all time and future Hall of Famer Charles Robinson never did. I love you, Charles. I also want to thank my prayer warriors, my best friend Dee Dee Venturi DeLuca, and North Carolina's George South for their frequent calls and text messages reminding me that God's not done with me yet. The WWE brings you great talent, but the entertainment you see would not be possible without the talent of the crew. From the first day that I walked backstage at WWE, I knew the crew were my people. If we were all in high school together, I would ask to sit with them at lunch. If I had a challenging day, the crew was there to put things in perspective, to let me know I was doing a good job, to encourage me, to let me feel okay to be me. Their smiles and even just a nod made me feel a little lighter. I loved the crew so much that I would even stay after the show and wrap cable just so I could be more a part of their world. Their names are Rico Reschoff, Marty Miller, Brian Nole, Bubba Dean Blau, Howie Zales, Stu Thomas Stewart, Carl Moeller, Chris Farrow, La Basse, Abby Segal, Kasama Basatiti, Nick Daw, Ellis Edwards, Tucker Carr, Rich Frieda, Prof. Stedman, Luis Vasquez, John D'Amico, Mark Yaden, and Jim Kelly. And last but not least, I'd like to thank the WWE fans. I'm not on social media where I can currently connect with the fans, but occasionally one of my friends will screenshot and text me some nice words about me on the internet. And you know, when I was a kid, I wrote a fan letter to my favorite celebrity and visited the mailbox every day for weeks waiting for a reply. That reply never came. Fast forward, from 1999 to 2005, I received hundreds and hundreds of fan letters, and I replied to every single one because each one of you means something to me. You are important. In a culture where public shaming is the norm and judgment reigns supreme, you, the fans, chose to graciously overlook my shortcomings, forgive my moments of selfishness, and chose to focus on my good qualities, to uplift me, cheer me on, and believe in me. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. Thank you.